Hello and welcome back to another episode of Insufferable with me, your host, Lindsay Howe, episode 21. Hey y'all, welcome. And yeah, I don't know. That's sort of just like a run-on sentence that I just had. Welcome back. I hope you all had a wonderful week. Did I? Yes, actually. Um, I have reached my 100 subscriber goal on YouTube, which is really awesome. So, let's go ahead and have a moment of silence for that. I'm just kidding. But yes, thank you for 100 subscribers. That's actually so freaking cute. And I was like, okay, that'll be my goal, like, by the end of the year, 100 subscribers. I feel like I could do that. I am confident in my abilities. And, yeah, here we are, 100 subscribers later, and it's only October. So thank you guys for that. Um, yeah, we're over here. We're crunch time for the Links Lab. Event. We got the pre-orders. They're low-key going off. So if you want a Lynx Lab um hoodie and or tee, go ahead and hit links-lab.com to get your pre-order in. So yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, we're kind of finalizing all that kind of stuff, and I got to do that right after this. Crunching the time again today, but I was not feeling that well yesterday, so I could not record. What are you gonna do? Sometimes you need to pivot, okay? I am a big proponent of lollygagging, dilly-dallying, and sometimes you gotta do it. Yeah. So anyways, it is spooky season over here, and if you're wondering, do I have Halloween plans? Yeah, even though I have low key been begging people to let me know where to hose at. No, I do not have Halloween plans yet. No one is doing anything cool for Halloween, and that is low key sad because it's just one of those years where I really want to dress up, but I will not be doing so if there's like nothing like that cool to do. I think I'll be doing like a little like pumpkin carving moment with the girls, but I won't be painting my face for that. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll dress up like a lumberjack because I definitely have access to the clothes that it would take for me to dress as a lumberjack already in the closet, in the arsenal. So yeah, I'll probably do something like that. Yeah, there's still nothing to do for Halloween, and it's like, whatever. It's not the worst thing ever. I'm, trying to bypass Halloween anyway, usually, because I am a Christmas bitch, and I would like to be in the Christmas vibes already, because that's just the kind of bitch I am. She's giving elf energy, and I don't mean elf the movie. I mean elf like actual elf. Like if I could build toys, at the North Pole, I would do that. I would do that, and I actually talked about this, I think, in episode 1 of this podcast where I was referencing, looking for a job, like, constantly applying for jobs and nobody's calling, and that I would really like to work at the North Pole as a manager elf, you know? I do give manager energy, I do like to be in charge, and I do like to make sure that my team is taken care of, and, I like efficiency, and I'm good with deadlines, and not me, like, pitching the North Pole right now. Yeah, so if you guys need anybody next year, hit your girl up. It's a little late this year. I understand you guys probably already have everything flowing. But yeah, next year, manager elf, it's a goal. I would say it's a goal. So yeah, Halloween, spooky season. Oh, so spooky season, I actually do love because if you know me, you know that I love horror movies. And yes, I do say it like that. Horror. I like horror movies, and, so the past couple of nights, I thought, let me go ahead and watch some classics, and I just kinda wanna, like, get, you know, reacquainted with the classics, okay? If I remember correctly, which I will look it up right now. Okay. So, Halloween, Michael Myers, he came first in the trilogy of killers from our generation, from our decade or whatever. 1978 was Halloween. Um the Love is Blind chat is going off right now, so I need to silence the computer. Anyway, 1978 was um Halloween. Michael Myers. He started the lore, I would say. And that's not bias cuz Michael Myers is my favorite, but next up came Friday the 13th, Jason. Even though I watched it last night, everybody knows, spoiler alert if you don't, Jason's not in the first one, okay? His mother, who is, creepy as hell, is actually the killer in the first one. So, spoiler alert on that. And then that was 1980. And then 1984 rolls around and we have Nightmare on Elm Street, which I also did watch recently. 2 nights ago, actually. I actually watched it on Tuesday night because I was going to film on Wednesday and I wanted to talk about it. But since I wasn't feeling well yesterday, I said, let me get in another movie and I could talk about it on the pod. So today we're going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. I haven't watched the sequels yet. And Friday the 13th, the first one. I low-key wanted to watch Friday the 13th because I forgot that Jason is not in the first one. But I don't want to be weird, but Jason's got a good build. You seen the chest on that man? I mean, he is thick and strong. He is a killer. But, those are kinda just the standards that women have to have these days. He is probably gonna kill you, regardless, but does he look like a weird incel that works at GameStop, or does he look like Jason Voorhees? Okay? It's kinda, like I said, he's gonna kill you either way, so, you kinda have to you know, pick your battles. You know what I mean? So, um, that's sickening to say, but it is the truth. So let's move on. So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, I watched it on Tuesday and I hadn't seen it since I don't know, I was probably like 15 or something. So it's been a while. But and if you know me, you know that I don't like Freddy Krueger. Okay? I think he's a pedo. And my best friend Sarah, Freddy Krueger is her favorite, um, horror movie villain of, these top 3 that everybody always references, you know what I mean? I know that, Frankenstein and Nosferatu and everybody, they paved the way, Psycho, Norman Bates. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my generation, what we grew up, and I wasn't even born when any of these came out, okay? I was born in 1990, spoiler alert. So, but these were the popular horror movies when I was coming up, and also like Poltergeist. I should watch that too because that one's also a classic, and I saw that at a pretty young age too. And The Exorcist, girl, I can hardly even talk about it. That movie still scares me to this day. The Voice, oh hell no, girl. And yeah, The Exorcist it's a touchy topic for me. I really scared me. We'll get to that later. So anyway, I don't like Freddy Krueger. I think he's a pedo. It is confirmed that he is a child killer, but people who love Freddy Krueger are like, he was not a pedo, though. He only killed those children. He did not diddle them. Okay, that's kind of again, something that, that is the battle that we have to choose. Just like I was talking about, your man is gonna murder you anyway. Do you want him to be fine, or do you want him to be, welcome to GameStop looking ass and sell? Okay. So, if you're gonna like Freddy, you're gonna have to decipher the fact and clarify with everyone that he was not a pedo. He just killed those kids. Not that either of those things are better than the other. Okay, but here is what I'm gonna say. In the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, the group of teenagers who are most affected by the killings of Fred Kruger, he they're all like 16 or 17 years old. They don't really clarify how old they are. I don't remember them saying exactly how old these kids are, but they are in high school. And also fun fact, this was Johnny Depp's first film. So he be looking like he's 13 in this movie, but he does play a high school student. He does get murdered in a pretty brutal way, and as he should, because he did not take the whole thing seriously and he was gaslighting her. And that's kind of how all horror movies go. Okay. The bitch always knows and she always has a plan to figure it out. But the men around her in the movie are like, girl, you crazy. Yeah, I might be, but at least I have a fucking plan. So why don't we follow my plan? And nobody ever follows the woman's plan. So, if we could just listen to women, every now and again, all of us probably wouldn't have passed away. So anyway, these kids are in high school. Okay. In the opening, well, I don't think it's the opening scene, but it's one of the first scenes of the first victim, Tina, I think her name is, and she is in her nightmare. In the broiler room, if you don't know, Freddy resides in like this weird broiler room where it's like tons of levels and it's all like hot and sweaty and there's like, pipes and water and cages around, you know what I mean? It's like a broiler room, look it up. She's running from him in the dream and he finally gets to her. She kind of like quarters herself in this place where she can't get, away. She's cornered in this area and he's like, I'm gonna get you, and wiggles his tongue at her. He's like, I'm sorry, what? That's fucking creepy, bro. You are a grown man who's known for killing kids, okay? And the pedo allegations are kind of up in the air. Is he a pedo or is he not? He's wiggling his tongue at this young girl. It's kind of giving pedo to me. This girl's 16, 17 years old. She's in high school. Why are you wiggling your tongue at her like that? That's some shit that happens to you when you're in high school and you're on the bus and some fucking creepy old man staring at you and he's doing shit like that. Yeah, that's creepy. It's creepy to do to a grown woman, but it's also way creepier to do it to a teenaged girl who you have cornered in a broiler room, okay? And you're not looking good, Freddie. You're burned to bits. That sweater, the colors are clashing, okay? Those fingers, they're overcompensating. Why'd you have to put knives on your fingers? Dude, you're overcompensating, okay? Be like fucking Michael Myers and carry a damn knife with your hand. Be a man. You know what I'm saying? I will give Freddy the benefit of the doubt in that he doesn't cover his face like the other two, you know? And he should. Because if I remember correctly, which I might not remember correctly because I haven't seen the second one where Jason's actually in the movie, but he's got pretty much his face and head I think is also burned or something. Something's weird about his face. And that's why he wears a mask. And you know what? Actually, I don't think Michael Myers has a weird face. We only get to see his face one time, and I think that's in, like, the first one or the second one, I can't remember. I will have to get back to you on that, but I don't remember him having a fucked up face under the mask, but Freddy, out of everyone, shoulda worn a mask, okay? He's not looking good. He's burned to bits, and no offense to burn victims, I have been burned before, not on my face, but on my feet. We'll get to that in another episode. But yeah, dude, he is not looking good. He should be wearing a mask. And you out here sporting a damn fedora? I am so sorry, dude. The pedo allegations, they're up in the air, but I don't know. I do have another example to support the pedo allegations, though. Anyway, later on in the film, spoilers, this movie came out freaking 40 years ago or whatever, so I don't want to hear it. Um, Later on in the film, the main girl, Lucy, is waiting for her boyfriend, Johnny Depp. I forgot what his name is in the movie. Um, Let me actually look that up because uh na 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 Nightmare on Elm Street. Johnny Depp played Glenn. I would have never remembered that. I did not I did not remember that. Anyways, she's waiting for Glenn to come over in the night. She has this plan where she's going to fall asleep and she's going to capture Freddy in the nightmare realm, and when her boyfriend Glenn wakes her up and cuz he sees that she's having a bad dream, he wakes her up, she's going to be able to pull him out of the nightmare realm, and her dad, the sheriff, is going to arrest him for the murder of her friends Tina and the weird boyfriend, okay? So she's calling Glenn, and little does she know he's already been murdered over there. He lives right across the street. Okay, he accidentally fell asleep. She asked him to do one thing, which was not fall asleep. Men will be men. He falls asleep. He falls asleep in such a way that he sets himself up for, like, a good night's sleep, and it's like, "Bro, what are you doing? I told you not to fall asleep. Why would you put your headphones on and listen to music and be laying in your bed?" This is a recipe for falling right asleep. It seems like you probably should have done more to stay awake, but that's beside the point. So she's calling him, "Glenn, you need to get over here. I'm ready to go to sleep and capture this motherfucker in dream world." And he has already passed away over this. She doesn't know this. So something happens as she rips the phone wire out of the wall, and then she's like, "Oh shit, what if he tries to call me again? I just ruined the phone wire." Okay? Kids, this is back in the day where the phone had to be plugged into the wall. Okay? This is old stuff. This is old-timey. This is 1900s type shit. You know what I'm saying? So she pulls it out of the wall, and then she's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do if he tries to call me?" So she's like, "Maybe I should go over there, I think." And she goes to leave her room, and then the phone rings. Spooky, it's unplugged. How is it ringing? But what does she do? She answers it. She answers it, and she says, "Hello?" And it's Freddy on the other line. And he says, "I'm your boyfriend now." Creepy thing to say to a teenage girl. Can we all agree? Thank you. Creepy thing to say. And after he says that to her, is she's like on the phone, and then it pans out and shows the whole phone, and the mouthpiece of the phone has become his mouth, Freddy's mouth, with the tongue out, and it's licking her on her lips. Pedo, dude. What are you talking about? First of all, I'm your boyfriend now. Oh, no. A grown man should not be saying that to a teenage girl. I am sorry to tell you, that is not what you are supposed to be doing. Okay, so I watched this film to confirm my suspicions about Freddy. Okay, oh, I talked about it with another friend, and they said, no, technically, in the first one, he was just a child killer. He was not a pedo. Nobody said he was. But when they did a remake of it, which I don't know when that happened, probably like in 2017 or something, um, he they did end up trying to incorporate a little pedo a PDF file, kind of, background for him, and apparently the audience found it super weird, and it kinda didn't play out that well. People were kinda mad that, they were trying to be like he's a pedo and kinda confirm those suspicions. Some of us remember him being a pedo, in the original, in the '80s, but only if you're watching it with the right state of mind in these days, 2025, and, back in 1984, these old men were doing weird stuff to teenage girls. Okay, whether that was actually, doing bad stuff to them or just acting weird around them, that shit does not fly in 2025. Okay, you cannot get away with wiggling your tongue at a young girl on the bus anymore. You know what I mean? Everybody's gonna call you a pedo, which they should because she is a child. Okay, so I think I feel validated with my, suspicions of, him being a pedo. But also too, if he's a child killer, why is he hunting down these teenagers from the high school? You know what I mean? Like he should have gone to the elementary school, started haunting those kids' dreams, right? That would fit better with the storyline of him being a child killer. But that would also be a pretty creepy movie to watch, even though, I mean, we did love weapons over here, and that was, elementary school kids, getting used, as, weapons for a witch, you know what I mean? They didn't really have to do much. She just took their life force from them, and they were standing in a basement for a while, a couple of weeks. But, yeah, I don't know. Um, I feel a little bit, I feel confirmation. I feel confirmation after I watch the film, um, and you know what? What I will say is Nightmare on Elm Street, aside from, my suspicions about Freddy himself, okay? The movie itself, cinematography-wise, slaps. Slaps, bro. Some of the imagery in that movie is so scary and disturbing that I low key forgot that some of this imagery was from this movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a part in the movie where she falls asleep in class at school, wakes up in the dream realm. She doesn't know, we don't know. Spoiler alert, she's dreaming. And this is after her best friend was murdered by Freddy, and no one can figure out, like, who murdered her or whatever. They're blaming it on the boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. But she wakes up in class, and her best friend, Tina, is like, Nancy, from, like, the hallway of the school. So she looks out in the hallway, and it's Tina, bloody as hell, inside a clear body bag, being like, Nancy. And she's got her hand, like, rubbing on the inside of this body bag. That shit's scary as hell, girl. What the hell? That imagery is fucked. It's fucked. It's hard to watch. Like, not hard to watch. I mean, yeah, and some of the shit they're doing these days on TV is fucking crazy. But for that day, you know what I mean? If you were watching that movie in the damn theaters in 1984, you was probably fucking like, whoa, spooky. And then she walks away, so she can't see her. She, like, walks down the hallway inside this body bag, and Nancy gets up and she's like, "Tina?" Walks out there, and there's damn blood on the ground like somebody drugged the body bag all the way down the hallway. Also so scary. Such a scary fucking, imagery, especially now. Blood in a school, setting is so disturbing. I can't eh, not these days. You can't be making this type of movie these days because people are too, um they got too much fucking experience with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too close to home type shit. So, yeah, that imagery was really fucking scary. Another really scary moment in it is, I think it's Nancy's one of her first times being in the dream, getting chased by Freddy. and, she's in, like, an alleyway outside, and she's, like, running down the alley, and he's kinda chasing her, and he's backlit, so it's kind of a silhouette of him, and for whatever reason, like, she's seeing him as his arms are, like, really long. They're, like, really long arms, and they're like fucking stilts, but on his arms, and he's running after her like this, just kinda the silhouette of him running down this alley, and that shit's fucking scary, dude. It was very scary. The imagery that they were able to portray in the first Nightmare on Elm Street fucking slaps. So I will give them that. I will give them that. There is one really funny part that I wanted to mention. It's not supposed to be funny, but it was to me. Um, she's taken all these caffeine pills and drinking all this coffee to stay awake. Like, she doesn't wanna fall asleep because obviously Freddy's gonna get her in her damn dream. And, he's over here. Oh, she's drinking all this caffeine or whatever, and finally her mom thinks, like, her mom's like, "Oh, just go to sleep," and she's pretending like she's gonna go to sleep. She's not ready for the full plan yet, but she's trying to convince her mom she's gonna actually go to sleep. So she lays down on her bed, and her mom collects this, like, empty coffee pot and all these coffee mugs, little espresso mugs, and her little pills, and she takes it all out of the room like, "Oh, she's finally gonna go to sleep. Let me take all this coffee stuff out of her room." And after her mom leaves the room, she gets up out of the bed, reaches under her bed, pulls out a full ass coffee maker, a whole ass Mr. fucking coffee with a fresh brewed pot, and starts drinking more fucking coffee because she still needs to stay asleep. I mean, awake. That shit was funny as hell, dude. First of all, that is a fucking fire hazard. You have a whole coffee pot brewing under your bed, and this is the fucking 80s. You got shag carpet and a fucking, bed skirt, and under your bed is a full ass coffee pot, like, brewing fresh. That's crazy. And how did your mom not understand or notice that the whole coffee pot from the kitchen is missing? It's under your bed, brewing. What the hell? I thought that shit was funny. I thought that shit was funny. I laughed out loud when I saw that in the movie. I was like, there is no way that they thought that this was gonna slide, or like that people weren't gonna laugh when this fucking came out, when this scene came up. But, that's kinda the only thing, those are the only things I have to say about the film. Yeah, cinematography-wise, it slaps, dude. Some of the imagery was really good, and, overall, it's a, very spooky story. And there are several more movies after that, and I do want to, watch them all. But that brings me to my next movie that, I watched last night, which was Friday the 13th, a 1980 horror movie. Okay. So, wait, hold on. So, this came before Nightmare on Elm Street, because Nightmare on Elm Street's 1984, I think is what I said. Funny thing about Nightmare on Elm Street, like I said, that was Johnny Depp's first movie, a nice heartthrob. What I did not realize until I watched it last night was, on Friday the 13th, it's Kevin Bacon. I don't know if it was his first movie or not, but he was a young, young lad, and he dies a pretty horrible death in that film. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, wow, like, look at these heartthrobs doing these horror movies, back in the 80s, which is really cool, because we have the classic, the legend, the queen of all final girls, Jamie Lee Curtis. She's the heartthrob in Halloween, and then we have Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street, and then we have Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, damn, they really went out to do really crazy, awesome things. They had big careers, but look at them doing these movies back in the day. Not that this movie is bad to do. It's just, yeah, one of those things. I think it's always been like really hard to get good actors to do horror films. I don't know how it was back in these days, but, yeah, so damn, look at all these actors now. They are, um they are elderly now, that's so yeah, 1980, we have Friday the 13th. Cinematography-wise, on this movie, it does not slap. Um, some of the practical effects were pretty good, but it does seem that I don't know, who was the director of this? Sean S. Cunningham. Oh, wait, hold on, I kinda recognize this guy. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff, it seems. He did Freddy versus Jason, which is kind of hilarious. But anyway, I don't know, I feel like, a lot of the practical effects on this movie were good, the killings were good, but it was giving a lot of, like, we need to cut super early because we can't, we don't know how to show this thing happening, so, like, we need to cut and, like, every time the Voorhees mom, what's her name? Betsy or something? Pamela. Pamela or the actor's name is Betsy. Pamela, it was so dramatic, girl. She was an over actor. She had the battle at the end with the final girl. And she would be like, ah, and then she would fall back. It's like somebody behind the camera needs to tell her that that's not how people get hit and fall down. But you know what? That's kind of how that's kind of how it be. Back in the day, I don't really know what filmmaking was like, but yeah, I think the story is good. Fun fact, my brother and I and a couple of our friends when we were young, we were probably like I don't know, between 12 and 14 years old, we wrote a horror film, a whole ass script, by the way, of a horror movie that was basically like a leg of Friday the 13th. It was about a group of teenagers going to Yosemite to go camping, and it turns out there's a murderer on the loose, and they all get killed or whatever in their cabins and blah blah blah. I can't remember exactly like what happened in the movie, like what was the plot. The plot was basically just killer killing in the forest, um, which was we basically bit the fuck out of Friday the 13th. You know what I mean? It really wasn't that original. The storyline wasn't that original. We were obviously doing our version of Friday the 13th, but it was called Yosemite's D-Man. And if I could get a hold of that script somehow, I would love that. But it was on our family computer in like 99 or 19 or 2000, no, probably like 2001 or 2002. Yosemite's D-Man. It was basically, yeah, Camp Crystal Lake reimagined. So yeah, not really that original, but we did like the whole concept of like kids going camping and getting killed out there while they was camping. And that was kind of like a big thing too. When did the Blair Witch Project come out? Because that shit was lit too. Blair Witch Project 1999. So, yeah, that was, one of the spookiest movies that ever came during my, upbringing, and, yeah, I remember thinking, like, "Oh my god, like, this has to be real. Like, this is the realest thing I've ever seen." The found footage of it all, is a very scary way to film a, movie, so maybe we'll watch that this, spooky season, The Blair Witch Project. Um but yeah, there are some, really good parts of Friday the 13th. The original, it's Jason's mom. And Jason is, I guess still a child. He drowned in the lake and the camp counselors were, too busy banging upstairs that they did not see him drowning in the lake, and that's kind of the whole lore. And his mom is basically being possessed by him and wants to kill all the counselors that ever come to the camp. You know what I mean? It's some pretty fun lore. Well, not fun, but I understand the concept and the plot. And yeah, so Yeah, a lot of people forget this plant is right behind me. A lot of people forget that Jason isn't in the first one, you know? He shows up at the end when he tries to pull the final girl into the lake with him. That's kind of when you see his face and how it's kind of like mangled a little bit. But yeah, I think I'll need to watch number 2, the sequel, so that I can get a better idea of how Jason comes to be, you know, because currently he's kind of like an entity that lives at the bottom of the lake and he's still a child. So, like, how does he grow up and become this very, you know, buff, large, big chested, big arm, big trap man? You know, where does he get the hockey mask? Like, how does that whole lore start? I feel like I should know that by now because these movies are old as hell, but, I do not know. I do not know it. Friday the 13th 2, when did that come out? 1981, the very next year. The very next year, that's actually good. Um, the second entry in the long-running horror series focuses on a group of teenage would-be counselors converging on the Camp Crystal Lake for training under the tutelage of head counselor Paul. Inevitably, Paul relates the story of Jason Voorhees, a boy who ostensibly drowned in the camp and whose mother murdered a group of counselors in revenge. No one takes the tale seriously until a very much alive Jason begins gruesomely eliminating people. Okay, so yeah, I need more tea on that. I need more lore on that. I'm gonna have to watch the movie to get the full tea, and I will circle back. We'll probably talk about it next week. I think for October, I just want to talk about spooky stuff, spooky movies, you know, spooky stuff that's happened to me. I have been haunted before, so that could be fun to talk about. And when I said that, my dog just went looked at me when I said I was haunted. So yeah, that's crazy. Um and yeah, so Friday the 13th, you know, it was kind of mid and yeah, I just wish the acting was better back in those days. You know what I mean? And there was some creepy shit going on with some of these characters that they don't even address. There's a part where the final girl, she works there or whatever. She's a counselor and she's been kind of setting it up, waiting for these other counselors to get there so they can help set up the camp because they're going to reopen the camp since it's been closed down since little old Jason drowned in the lake. So they're going to reopen it. They hire all these new camp counselors, you know, Kevin Bacon and all his friends. They come down, and there's a guy that is there who is Loki fine. And he's always topless for whatever reason. And it's they kind of frame it like he's in on it, but he surely gets murdered later in the film too. So he was never in on it unless he was sacrificing himself so all these kids could die. But I don't know um why they made him so fucking creepy. Like, she wants to leave. She's like, "I'm actually not gonna work in the camp. I'm just helping set it up and then I'm gonna go." And he's like, "You know what? Like, I really would like you to stay." He's there shirtless for no fucking reason, by the way. There's no reason why he needs to be shirtless. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." And he's like, "You know, I want you to stay. You know, I'm gonna figure out I'll make this job really easy for you. And you know, I think you're gonna enjoy working here." And you know, he's like, "Just give me some time, you know, over the weekend, help us set up. If you still want to leave, you know, on Monday, then you could leave and that's fine. Or like on Friday, you can decide if you want to stay or you want to go." And she's like, "Okay, I'll stay till Friday." And he like looks at her longingly. Too long, by the way, a very long pause of them just staring at each other in this movie. And then he like touches her face like he's about to kiss her. And then he walks away. They do not address that interaction ever again in the film. And I'm like, "Oh, this guy's into her or whatever." I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that these camp counselors are not high schoolers, okay? Maybe they are, in college, even though camp counselors are usually high schoolers. You know what I mean? So that was a creepy moment that should not have happened in my opinion. In my humble opinion, some of this shit is creepy. And then there's one girl in the beginning of the film, she's backpacking to Camp Crystal Lake. She's gonna be the chef for all the kids and the counselor. She's gonna cook. Okay, and she has to backpack all the way there. She's basically hitchhiking her way to Crystal Lake. All the while, every time she stops at like a local fucking, quickie mart or something, and she's like, "How far is Camp Crystal Lake? Like, how do I get there?" Like, she's asking for directions, and everyone's like, "Oh no, girl, you don't want to go to Camp Crystal Lake. It's cursed. It's cursed over there." Okay, red flag, but she keeps on trucking along to get there because this is her fucking job. She needs to go show up for her job. She got hired to be a damn chef or whatever. But everyone's telling her, girl, you don't want to go there. So she goes into this park. She asks, how do I get to Camp Crystal Lake? And all these fucking weirdo bar rats, like old men, are looking at her like, you're going to Camp Crystal Lake? You can't go there. She's like, yeah, like, is there like a bus I can take or like what? And this one old man, creepy, first of all, he offers to drive her to Camp Crystal Lake. They find out it is 20 miles away. There is no bus that goes there. And he says, I'll drive you. I'll drive you, even though it's creepy and you probably shouldn't go there because people do say it's cursed. But if this is your job, that's fine. I'll drive you. He leaves the bar. First of all, she hops in a car with a man that she just picked up at a bar. How long has he been at the bar? How many drinks has he had? And you're in the middle of nowhere, low key with the windy ass roads, and you're just gonna hop in the car with this man you met at a bar, and he's like 70 years old, and you're like 18 at best. Okay. She hops into his truck, and she kind of has to hoist her way up into this truck, right? It's kind of high off the ground. He opens the door for her. He's like, go ahead and jump in. She goes to get in and he holds her by her ass cheeks and hoists her up into the car, even though she did not need the help. She could have climbed up into the fucking truck by herself, but he fully fondles her to get her into the fucking truck. Another very creepy moment, something that was totally normal in 1980. Creepy as fucking hell. And she should have, but there's so many red flags. First of all, they told you don't go to the fucking camp. Okay, it's cursed. Second of all, it's 20 miles away. You're never going to get there. There's no bus that even goes there. Secondly, this creepy old man that you met at a bar who could or could not be drunk as fuck is willingly taking you to the cursed camp that everyone's telling you not to go to. Girl, what are you doing? That's the whole thing about horror movies is the audience can clearly see the red flags. The characters inside the universe do not see red flags. It is impossible for them to see them. I also just watched Scream 2 the other night, and what's her name? Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's getting attacked by Ghostface in the house, and she's running over here and like throwing stuff on the ground, the bike. Oh, pretty much all of Scary Movies lore from that they used to parody Scream came from Scream 2. Straight up, Scream 2's got some of the fucking cringiest moments in it. It's still good, but it's got some cringiest moments, and she's getting attacked inside the house. She runs upstairs right away. That's a dead end, girl. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, watching these movies just makes me feel smart. It makes me feel smart. It makes me feel like I would not get caught up in this way. So, yeah, so that's kind of what happens in Friday the 13th. There are some creepy moments, and as far as cinematography goes, it was mid at best. And there is no Jason in it. So, you got to get to number 2 if you want to see Jason's fun ass. And I don't know, dude, I like the fucking outfit he's wearing too. He's got the fucking raggedy ass fucking work jacket and what's that hoodie underneath? he's just big, he's a big, big man. And we like that around here. The axe of it all is a little bit creepy, but hey, he's a mountain man. He's a mountain man. He's familiar with the lake. He allegedly lived there for many, many years, underneath the water after he drowned there. So he is familiar with the lake. It'd probably be fun to go camping with him. Um, yeah, dude, I don't know. There's something about this picture of him that's like, I don't know. He's kind of fine to me. He's kind of fine to me. You know what I mean? I'd rather be murdered by him than damn Norman Bates. And I'll say that with my whole chest. So, anyways, um, yeah, we're gonna watch next week. We're gonna watch Friday the 13th 2. I definitely want to watch that. I may or may not watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I kind of want to watch them all. I know that the Friday the 13th get really bad. At some point, there's a Friday the 13th called Freddy Goes to New York, which is like, come on, bro, what the hell are you doing with this fucking series? But yeah, I do want to get there. If there's you know, a a universe in which they will continue and continue and continue and continue to make sequels that are so unnecessary, i.e., Fast and the Furious, I will be tuning in. I will be watching it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that it's quality TV or movies, but I will be tuning in. Okay. It's the commitment of it all. Like, I'm gonna need to do it anyway. So, yeah, I kind of do want to get to all the Friday the 13th, especially the one where he goes to uh New York. I'd really like to see how that plays out. So, yeah, that's what we're gonna watch next week. I really also want to watch the Babadook. I haven't seen that since it came out. Babadook, that's a 2014 film. So yeah, it's been a cool 10 years since I seen that. And that one, as I remember, is good. And I think at one point the Babadook became a gay icon. Don't quote me on that, but I remember something about the Babadook being a gay icon, and I need to revisit that. I need to revisit that lore. So yeah, the Babadook next week. I would watch Halloween 1 again, but I have seen it several times. It might be nice to watch it again to get a little refresher before I talk about it on the pod. I don't know if I need to go into it, but I am glad that I watched Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are classics. We need to pay homage to those and keep them in our thoughts. You know what I mean? Because there are going to be several remakes of your favorite things, and they are going to get ruined at some point. So yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I am out of time. I was going to begin to talk about Monsters, the Ed Gein story, but we just do not have time for that today. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Maybe I'll do a bonus episode where I just talk about that because it was heinous. And that's not totally in a bad way, but Ryan Murphy needs to be arrested. I'm pressing charges. Somebody needs to take the camera away from him and the writing equipment, and he needs to be in solitary confinement for a little while. And that is my personal opinion. But yeah, thank you guys again for 100 subscribers here on the YouTube. Happy Halloween, happy spooky season. We will have, I think, 3 more episodes before Halloween. So yeah, we're gonna keep the spooky vibes going. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in again today to another episode of Insufferable with me, your host, Lindsay Howe, and I will see you next week. Bye.